After a tough return to Brazil, we now head to North America to the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Let's see how we fared at the two-wheeled rodeo. Join me here in practice on Friday afternoon. It is very much overcast, but thankfully for me, we've started this weekend off on the right foot. The bike is clearly working here, and we immediately out of the box just feel a slight bit closer to the chasing pack, and we just feel a bit more on it. It's the best Friday I'd say of the season so far, and we're really feeling strong, and just overall felt like from the first few laps it wouldn't be too hard to get through to Q2. I had a bit of pace, the bike felt okay, and it was a good result in the end. We finished up P8, top KTM, probably had a bit more than me if I needed it, but all in all it was a solid day's work, so we came into Saturday feeling quite strong. We're here now in Q2, really bright sunny day, gorgeous perfect conditions. Slight tweaks to the bike overnight, just a few small things, change the direction, a bit of stability through some of the real high speed corners. This track is notoriously bumpy, and that is some of the issues I was having with my RC16, is that just through these bits of the track here where you're changing direction and you're flying through high speed corners, just trying to be a bit more consistently hitting certain apexes and getting to the racing line a bit better. And we actually managed to achieve it. The bike did feel slightly better, and overall in Q2 I was pretty happy with my lap time. Come up to the line now, and to be honest, right, I was surprised by the lap time, and I was even more surprised by where he even put us. Our first pole position comes only in round 3. We really have started off this Grand Prix weekend in perfect style, getting straight through to Q2, then doing 1 or 2 laps in Q2 and nailing it ahead of Marc Marquez. So we're here in the sprint now. Big issue so far this year has been the launches, and once again we actually spin up and we absolutely melt our rear tires. So we get a terrible run up, already down to about 10th position as we go up to Big Red, and we get massively hit from another Red Bull KTM. I'm not sure exactly who that was, but that's put us even further back, and we're right in the middle of the pack now at one of the most tricky opening sectors you'll find on any Grand Prix circuit. We go through the snake now, we're into real difficult territory. We haven't been behind many bikes. We got our first track limit of the sprint, and to be honest, I'd follow people a bit on Friday's practice, but for the most part I did all my laps on my own, so that kind of just meant overall this was really new to me, and it was just different turning points, riders checking up in ways I wasn't expecting, riders faster than me in certain areas, slower than me, so just overall I was really just struggling to find my feet, not alone with the absolutely cooked rear tyre from that unfortunate potential issue we had off the grid. I'm not too sure, because there should be no way with the ride height device down that we should spin up that much. We go straight on into the big hairpin around turn 9, and now onto the back straight, which we've shown from Brazil that we are struggling in a straight line. We have again played a small bit with the ECU settings for this weekend. I think we're probably a bit closer in straight line speed, or at least getting out of the corner. I think overall, as we see lots of bumping and barging down into the difficult hairpin at the end of the back straight, lots of collisions, riders moving on the brake, very dangerous. This is just why you want to qualify well, and more importantly get away with your good qualifying, which unfortunately today in the sprint we couldn't do. We'll have to learn from it and do again tomorrow in the Grand Prix. Hopefully if we can get away with the front group, we could be in for a good old race on Sunday. But you can see there the track of us boys at their home race really being aggressive. You can see, I think that's Top Rack trying to roll around the outside in the final right-handers of the track, and this, to be honest, is where it feels strong. Real high speed. We go for a look up the inside of Zarco, but unfortunately that Aprilia just has a bit more road speed. But now we go to the outside thinking we can try all different sorts of moves. Unfortunately, we just brake in the curb, skittled ourselves along, and we just go wide. So now we squared off just on the edge of the curb, and once again we're back alongside the Trackhouse rider. We are flat stick. You can see here we'll have a quick look at him just to see where he's at. Hard on the brakes, but unfortunately as we now cut to the outside shot, he managed to hold us off through turn 1. So that's lap 1 of the sprint done. The rear tyre is only now just kind of coming back down to temperature. We've definitely taken a good chunk of life out of it, so it's going to be very difficult to get back to the points from here. We're going to try and push on and see what we can do, but we just don't really know where we're going to be at. We've jumped out to lap 3. This con here, I struggled so much with in the races. Couldn't get the bike to turn in properly when behind other bikes. Felt like maybe just a bit of aero wake or something just pushing me in and into that hairpin again. It's a choke point of this whole racetrack, and whatever way I take it compared to my competitors, I just cannot get the rotation. I want to really set up this straight and they really go to the apex early and just kind of pivoted on the rear brake and picked the bike up further out, whereas I just don't seem to have the confidence in this RC16 KTM to it. Down into the hairpin once again. That is one of the KTMs. I think that might have been the KTM that did a bit of a bump and run on me on lap 1, so maybe a bit of karma. But now we're about half race now. We're just not really making the forward progress that we wanted. We jumped out to lap 4. We're about to start the last lap, and again we're just too far off, really, considering the pace we showed on Friday. Good qualifying, and then you'll just see Alakir bumps up the inside so late. I was tipped into corners, committed, and by the time I rejoined the track, he does end up getting the position on. I just rolled off, so I was not happy. I was really angry. Me and Alakir do not get on at all. So up the start finish straight, a lot of slipstream, and we go straight to the apex. I've released the brake here, just settled the bike, just tipped in. He leans in just like I do, and I send him wide. I go wide myself. The stewards did look at this, but thankfully they let it off as a racing incident, so we managed to kind of little bit of a bump and run like previously that was done to us. We have done now to Alakir. Jump to what is now lap 5, and we're looking for a way around Alex Rins if we can, and it's unfortunately just one of these tracks where there's so many different lines. We're getting checked up by riders. Rins should be a little bit slow to that corner, and he checks up in front of us. It was just a bit messy. We're still pushing on because now we've limited laps in these sprints. We're really pushing on to see if we can get a better position for just the last couple of corners really of this race, and we get a good run on the inside of Raul Fernandez, and we actually end up upgrading ourselves, tagged the back of, I believe, Luca Marini, unfortunately, last corner of the race, and we lose the run out of the corner to Alex Rins on the V4 Yamaha. So unfortunately for me, it's only P12. Marc Marquez wins from Igor and Francesco Bagnaia. So very interesting podium, but unfortunately for the poleman, P12. Now the race was nice and sunny, just like our qualifying lap, and it was key we got off the line correctly. So today I was a lot more cautious, dumped the clutch just as well. The initial launch, once again, nothing compared to Marc. There goes Didier, there goes Jorge Martin, and up to turn 1 we just got to be aggressive. There's also Pecco, there is what I believe to be maybe Marini on the factory Honda, so he's up to 3rd. We've jumped under one of the Aprilias, I believe it to be Jorge Martin, and we're up into P4, so immediately I'm thinking, job done. Start good, nice and clean, got away, no incidents, and we're in the group. We know we have the pace. We have a long old race here, 10 lapper. Let's see if we can kind of push on through and see can we stick with these guys and see what happens, because this is the first time in dry conditions we've gotten away with the front guys, and we'll be able to see if we actually can do anything for them. We're not behind Luca Marini now. We're nearly going around the outside in these fast rides all weekend long. I felt like I can just kind of run the bike in a bit hot and have the stability to turn it over him, and that's exactly what we do here on the end of lap 1. And that is Marc Marquez serial race winner in front with Didier in between. So now we're slipstreaming down into the very, very fast hairpin corner at the end of the back straight. We're just kind of sliding out past people just to keep ourselves out of an offset. Marquez has been passed on the previous lap, but he's not going to lay down and take this race very easily. Up the inside he goes. Fairness, Didier gives him the space, and then into this right-hander. Watch the way Didier just turns this RSGP and just absolutely rails turn 2. And for some reason, Marc has a bit of a moment, picks up. I didn't know if he had an issue there. We have a small bit of contact with him, and we end up then seeing Didier in front. He's blown the S kind of snake section, so all in the space of 3 corners, the front 3 guys all make mistakes. We have a small bit of contact with him, but he just throws it across our nose. And then unfortunately it looks like Bastianini, I think, has come flying through, tries to tread the needle, picks us up. We actually have to pick the bike up so much we nearly go on the grass the inside, kind of just a little reaction, just picking the bike up. But now we're up into P2. Marc somewhere behind, so is DJ. Finally get a great run through there. I'm taking myself right. I've been poor in here all weekend. Let's just break it, touch deep. But of course, when you're on your limit and you try a hit harder, what usually happens, you go straight on. So we've now let Marc, unfortunately, back ahead, and he's going to be very, very hard to beat around here. We go to the outside because the bumps along this straight are so bad. There is actually nowhere that's not bad for the bumps, so regardless of where I try to make it faster, get the run, it was going to work for me. So in here, you'll see Marquez has a bit of an issue. There goes Deers. I think that was in actually loses from, takes Marc with him. Fortunately, Marc falls as well. And up the inside goes Luca Marini, locks the front and just basically skittles across my nose. There was a slight bit of contact with me. The front just bobbled in my hands, but we got away lucky. And now on the, I think the 4th lap as we come on to here in a second, we are basically, lap 5 even, we are leading this race. And you'll see a Pramac Yamaha. If this race was any more crazy, somehow a Pramac Yamaha of Jack Miller is at the front and battling me. We're now just trying to manage our pace, and you can see a very aggressive move from Alex Marquez, just rides through us and then gets the snake all wrong on the 6th lap of 10 here. So I didn't have the pace really to run away at the front like I wanted, so I just said to myself, you know what, let's tuck in, let's just do our kind of race pace, let's not focus on the others, let's just keep it tidy, keep it clean, and just practice kind of defending the apexes. Unfortunately through there it just would not turn for me. That's left 2 riders through, Jack Miller and Alex Marquez, the 2014 Moto3 contenders, going hammer and tongue now in the GP class over 10 years later. And out of the hairpin, that Ducati just launches. In fairness, the V4 this year does not seem too bad in the hands of Jack Miller and the Yamaha boys. And down to this hairpin, once again, it's been a kind of hot pot of incidents all race. And again, we come down here, we're just trying to basically get back into position, get back in line, and Alex Marquez basically runs wide just like Bastianini did. Unfortunately loses the front and takes Jack and pushes him wide, so we once again are back up into P1 somehow on lap 8. We're once again having issues with people lunging us up in there. That is our factory colleague there, Joan Mir, and this is Ayagora, who's second in the sprint. Yes, and now he's taking the lead. We know from battling him in Brazil, he's not an easy cookie to overtake. So when I went to the outside here, we just pinched ever so slightly. I was already on my limit in this braking zone. I don't think I have much more, but we just released the brake here, back to first, and we just run it out to the curb just to turn it across his nose. So now I'm thinking to myself, right, we're clearly not the fastest, because each time someone comes past is someone different. So there's like a bottleneck behind us of a load of different riders trying to basically get their way to the front. So everybody feels they can win this one. Jumping out to the start of lap 9 and up into the hard brake zone of turn 1, you'll see a flash of yellow in 3, 2, 1. There he goes. Ayagora has a massive snap on the braking, similar to Davi in 2017, I believe it was, when he took out Danny Pedrosa. Goes a bit aggressive on the inside, and then just there, the rear comes around. That just has to force him to release the brake, and he gets to the top of the hill. His speed is just too much, and he just falls off the edge of the tyre. Basically, he's really lucky not to take me with him. But we jump now to the final lap. We're ahead of our teammate in the factory colours, Jean Mir, not that you could tell by looking at them. And we're just basically, you know, we've backed it off. We're trying to bring it home. We're just really running the good lines that we can in places, and just trying to basically make this as tidy as a last lap as possible for our first win of the season. Mark DNFing, a lot of people DNFing, Jorge Martin not finishing, so this was a big turning point already, only 3 rounds in, but this was a huge race for me. We come up to the line, small, a bit of a wheelie as we cross the line. Pedro Acosta, Grand Prix race winner. So a KTM 1-2 and a Aprilia, a satellite Aprilia in 3rd. It was a really crazy race weekend. We jump now to 5th in the championship, 24 points only off Marc Marquez. I definitely feel if things go our way, we could have a good chance of winning this world title in season 1. So that is the plan. We could celebrate now our hard work on the podium here. It was a real enjoyable race weekend. From the first few laps, Texas treated me well, and I was really happy to get the race done and get a good result, because we had a decent Thailand, considering it was our first race, the wet conditions and just everything that went with it. Brazil, a lot more of a struggle, even though I enjoyed it, and I got there in the end. For the most part, that weekend was a bit of a disaster, as we just were struggling with bike setup, and overall the bike wasn't working very well. Now, after we leave Texas back to the motorhome, we've met up with our agent, and he has a book of papers in front of us, and basically we're going to have a discussion. We just won our first race, we're hot property, and he just said to me, Joe, who would you like to ride for next year? If we can, who would you like to go with? He said, would you like to stay with KTM? And I was thinking, you know what, we've struggled so far with KTM. And I said, Ducati's always appealed to me. I've always felt like they've just had a really well run outfit. They've been World Championships kind of contenders for 10 years now, and they've been winning a lot of races lately. So you know what, if you can get me on that factory Ducati, I'm sure there'll be a couple of extra zeros on your contract at the end of next year. But anyway guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. We will be back with episode 4 from Jerez in the coming days. Slán go fóill, Buachaillí.